Randy Hayes and Mike Roselle started this organization, they wanted to create an opportunity for a small group of people to have a hugely outsized influence on the planet. There's been a purity of intent and a disciplined focus from day one in this organization.
Sometime around 1987, I picked up this Rainforest Action Network newsletter and subscribed, became a member, and for years I basically would do all of the action alerts that it encouraged me to do.
This was a pivotal moment in the history of the environmental movement in the United States because we had blatant opposition to efforts to protect the environment. And the Rainforest Action Network was one of the organizations that came out of the school that we need to put our foot down. The footprint of this organization now, 30 years later, is 100 times what it was.
I often cite RAN as an example of a small organization that squeezes a lot of impact out of a small budget. I think it fundamentally comes down to one thing, and that's clarity of strategy.
Rainforest Action Network identifies the biggest corporate culprits that are destroying the planet. They mobilize public will to change the practices of those companies.
We know that we can follow the money, that we can have an impact halfway around the world because we understand our responsibility as consumers. And we can use that consumer leverage to move companies in the right direction.
So at RAN, we do our homework. Our research is impeccable, and companies know that. They also know that we know how to run effective and strategic campaigns, and we'll stick with them for the long haul until we see real systematic change.
One of the most impressive things about RAN is their ability to be both on the inside and on the outside. RAN figures out a way to both do effective protest on the outside, but also to be able to sit down at the table with the people who have to make the decisions on the inside.
Rainforest Action Network has taken on some of the biggest corporations in the world, including Ford, Bank of America, Chevron, Cargill, Home Depot, Citibank, Bunge, PepsiCo, ADM.
If I was running a timber company or a coal company, the last thing I would want to know about is the Rainforest Action Network was coming after me. There is a way in which this organization can move people and move the issue and move the reputation of a multinational so quickly that it must keep people up at night.
We were able to acquire the intercom code for Home Depot stores and have people in dozens of stores.
Home Depot doesn't want to be seen as a destroyer of old-growth forests or violating the rights of indigenous peoples. And so we knew that we had them. We knew that we could build a public campaign designed to eliminate the gap between what a company says it's doing and what it is actually doing on the ground.
We've contacted Home Depot's 10 largest competitors. Home Depot's largest competitor, Lowe's, immediately called us up and said, let's have a meeting. The WTO was meeting in Seattle, in a town where we had a lot of friends and a lot of allies. It's hard to understate the importance of the World Trade Organization and the plans that the WTO had for the world's forests. Those plans continue. Free trade negotiations are underway right now that would have a devastating impact on the world's forests and ecosystems.
RAN has brought some of the biggest banks in the world to the negotiation table.
The ad had aired once or maybe twice that first morning that we had bought space when we got a call from Citigroup. And they said, Uncle, pull the ad, we'll sit down and we'll start drafting policy with you.
So about 8 years ago, RAN decided to launch one of its most ambitious campaigns looking at the whole entire palm oil sector. So they decided to target the 3 largest traders and producers in the world, ADM, Bunge, and Cargill.
We launched a campaign on Cargill, the largest privately held company in the world. Our ask was that they completely eliminate rainforest destruction from all of the agribusiness products they produce anywhere in the world. Now, a lot of folks thought that we were crazy, I was on the floor of the UN when I heard the new CEO of Cargill say, we are adopting a zero deforestation commitment, not just for palm oil that's grown in countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, but for any place in the world where our products are contributing to forest destruction. That's huge, and that's a result of our pressure over many, many years.
Just 4 years ago, Bank of America was the #1 funder of coal mining. And when RAN put a challenge down to the bank and asked them to stop funding coal, they laughed at us and said they aspired to be #1 in every sector they worked. But 4 years later, they've become the first bank in the world to announce a global commitment to exit the coal mining sector. It's really important to get a corporate policy, but what we're really going for is systemic change.
Rainforest Action Network is not only just taking on companies anymore, we're taking on whole entire sectors. Because it's not about what is possible, it's about what is necessary.
We were looking at what was contributing to rainforest destruction in Indonesia, and we found out that many of the trees that were being cut were getting pulped and put into children's books. So we put 10 of the largest children's book publishers on notice, and we got 8 of them to move. But one of our laggards was Disney. Disney is the largest children's book and magazine publisher in the world. After 18 months of negotiations, they agreed to a policy that would affect every Disney product produced anywhere in the world. Now that is an outsized contribution because Disney uses 20,000 printers in China alone.
RAN is the only organization that I know that works at the intersection of 3 different issues: preserving the rainforest, protecting the climate, and defending human rights through the lens of corporate accountability.
When we get a company to make a commitment, it's not just on paper. It touches down in a community. It touches down in the mountains of Appalachia where banks have stopped financing mountaintop removal. It touches down in the rainforests of Indonesia, where indigenous peoples cannot be ejected off of their lands.
RAN uses people power to challenge business as usual. RAN believes that the best defenders of local ecosystems are the actual communities that live there. So we partner with those local communities to hear exactly from them what they think needs to be done to defend their lands.
When RAN works in partnership with frontline communities, we work with them because they really are the best stewards of their lands. And we're able to support them through our small grants program so that they can continue to fend off corporations and protect their lands.
Because of Rainforest Action Network's help, we've been able to stop oil and gas drilling on the Copper River Delta. We were able to stop a deep water port from being built in the name of oil spill response right outside of Cordova called Shepherd Point. Rainforest Action Network understood from the very beginning the intrinsic values between the people and the land, that they could not be separated.
At the community level, the benefits have included helping communities to secure their land on which they depend for all of their livelihood activities, promoting greater accountability to corporations. Because what we see in Africa, especially in Liberia, is most of these corporate interests are taking our resources and leaving very little behind.
We work for the protection of the leuser ecosystem, the largest conservation area in the Southeast Asia, around 2.6 million hectares. Our collaboration with the Rainforest Action Network is very important for us. When we got PA grant, we confident continue our critical work for the restoration program. From that money, we lobbying government. We have to continue restoration program.
Rainforest Action Network, over a short 30-year history, is changing the way in which NGOs engage with business, fight for indigenous rights, and change the way in which we think about the environment.
You know, what makes RAN's work not just effective but transformative is that it's designed from the start to add up to more than just the sum of its parts. Smart, strategic corporate campaigns that we've come to associate with RAN are designed from the very beginning to leverage each milestone and each victory into sector-wide change that together works to re-embed our economic system in a thriving, healthy, beautiful ecosystem. And that's what we're doing.
"30 years of moving forward.